What's up everybody, this is Happy to Game here, and today in this video we're going to be going over Sissela's Caltrop build guide for beginners. Hopefully you like the video. The one thing I want to get out of the way is that I've noticed many of you are not subscribed to my channel. If you enjoy these Eternal Return build guides, please subscribe to the channel to get notified when a new guide is released. But enough of that, get to the guide. The very first thing I want to say about Sissela is that she is not a very beginner friendly character, and the reason why I say that is that she's a very difficult champion to master. She has a lot of things going on in her kit, and if not used correctly, it is very unforgiving. So just an FYI. Alright, so let's quickly go over Sissela's skills. So the very first one is the Q, which essentially you send out Wilson with the wall, and while it's traveling to the area that you've selected for it to go, if it hits a character, it's going to do damage. And then on top of that, if it once it lands to its destination, it will also bounce down and do damage again. So if you put the perfect spot on an enemy and it travels and lands, you're going to essentially hit them twice. Your W is essentially a Wilson that returns to you and shields you. It gives you a shield and blocks and makes you invulnerable for a second. The E is essentially Wilson will stretch out and grab, essentially hooking enemies, and when he hooks the enemy to him, they get stunned. So it's essentially your stun. And her ultimate is essentially the Karthus ult from League of Legends. It is a global ultimate that does damage to everybody, including herself, but she can't kill herself. So that's kind of the gimmick there for her. The damage of the ultimate is also based on how low your HP is. And your passive is essentially, the lower your HP, you gain more HP regen, and it increases your skill amp. Last but not least, your weapon skill, your Caltrop, is you essentially throw a bunch of Caltrops around you, and if enemies step on it, they take damage and they are slowed. Now, I have tried multiple different Shuriken plans, and I'll be honest with you guys, the best plan that I've seen so far, especially for beginners, is going to be the Shuriken recommended plan that Nibbled Neuron has created. So let's quickly cover some strengths and weaknesses of Sissela. So let's cover the weaknesses first. Honestly, early game combat and ganks is kind of where her biggest flaw is. You haven't built up enough skill amp, your skills aren't doing enough damage, and your auto attack isn't going to damage either until you get your essentially your purple weapon. In the early game, she also doesn't have much in terms of escapability. She does have the ability to throw her Q and then E herself, and that will pull you through walls. But it's very, especially as a new beginner player, it's very easy for you to miss that combo. And in the very early game, she uses a lot of SP, so you do need to drink often. And if you run and you find yourself running out of beverages to drink early game, you essentially can't really get into fights. Now, a couple of strengths that I love about Sissela is that she has the long range poke. So if you throw out Wilson, you throw out your Q, you can also throw, when the cooldown is down, you can then throw the Q even further. So that's really nice for poking. What's awesome about the QE combo is that not only can you pull yourself through walls, but if you have a friend who might be in trouble, you can also pull a friend through walls as well in team games. Once you have your Q leveled up, you have some items with skill amp, and you have your purple weapon, you're going to do a lot of damage. So really fun, bursty, especially if you hit your combos in combat, you're good to go. Some early game food. When you're in the temple, you're going to want to make sure that you grab the garlic, so you can make some garlic bread. And then in terms of beverages, you're not going to find any beverages in temple. So the second you get into alley, you need to collect as much honey as possible and start drinking the honey to get your SP regeneration going. Because by the time you start looting alley, you're probably going to run quite low on SP. Alright, so the very first tip right away is that with Sissela, you want to throw out your Q and then go and grab the ball back, because that will trigger your passive, which will essentially do double, which will add additional damage for your auto attack. And then another combat tip is you want to obviously try and use your Q and then E your opponent to stun them. And whenever you have your Caltrops, make sure you're using your D as often as possible because it does tons of damage and slows your enemies. In this clip, you're going to see how having low HP increases your skill amp, which makes your Q and your skills a lot more powerful. In this clip, you're going to see how utilizing your kit, even though I missed my Q and E combo at the beginning here for the stun and damage, I was able to continue to use my Q, pick up my ball, right, which triggers my passive and makes my auto attack super strong. And then I throw out my Caltrops to hurt the enemy, and I continue again with my auto attacks to finish the fight. And here, you're not going to be able to see too much of the Caltrops, but I do lay Caltrops onto the Jackie there, which does tons of damage, and again, just being able to burst her down pretty quickly there. So this is a team fight here that I'm going to quickly show you. Once you've mastered your Q and E combo, you're going to see here that Yuki's going to do his ultimate. I'm able to yank the Yuki out right at the last second there with my Q and E to essentially save my team from taking massive damage with that ultimate. When you're at low HP, you have better HP regen and increase in skill amp. So sometimes it's better to run away when you're at low health and just poke your enemy. It is also a great idea to utilize your ultimate since it does more damage when you have less HP. This can really turn the tide around a fight, especially if you utilize it correctly. I hope that guide helped you out. If it does, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye now.